aside from stabilizing um, bias favoring the Johnny Cochran for the AIDS attack, who was financed by the Jeffin Corporation's rock stars with the help of Israel, meaning Barack Obama. I don't really know um, really what the meanings of the word political correctness are or wokeism. But I tuned into some people, John McWhorter and Jordan Peterson, and as well as reviewing notes from Carnegie Mellon about how the Trumpy tuned Putinese operated for Andrea Swimmer and Jaime Carbonell and the Neva Corporation when Yoko Ono began her march from anthrax on 911 to monkeypox with the help of various attackers promoting an equity scythe, which was most conspicuous in COVID 19 when they killed George Floyd and ran masses of protesters into the streets, supposedly spreading COVID as social progress. At the time, you might not know this if you're too young to remember, but they claimed that the protests didn't spread COVID when everybody knew the crowds spread COVID. It was sort of a preposterous attempt to cover for what they were doing. But I think something can be identified from social progress in America from the civil rights movement. It's the way that by dint of strategy, the very powerful um, inside gangsters in American, European, and Eurasian power networks using our media turned and converted our fulfillment of social progress in America into an enemy. This is most obvious when you look at how intractable the injustice to Native Americans were. So you get a hot shot, pal of Yoko Ono, like Sherman Alexie. Now, Yoko Ono wants revenge for the Axis. And you get a hot shot, Native American creative agency making satire of the pretense that what was done to Native Americans can be remedied. So you have two, though, together who see and identify together. And any attempt to mitigate that disaster by learning about Native Americans, by advocating for them, by appointing them in appropriate places is considered ha 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 ha. Gross, inadequate, liberal, white, ineffectuals. And this feeds the people who created the disaster and will continue to create the disaster for others. But it gives egological satisfy to the important people on this who represent the arc of madness. So what do they want to shop for from that? They want to shop for the idea that Black people were wronged. Okay, so we did a lot of work back in the late 50s to the present time to take the burden of prejudice off of Black people and make sure that people were obliged to live together, shop together, go to school together, work together, and learn about respective cultures together. But that's never going to be good enough But now you have three. Then there were three for whom it is never good enough. And they, of course, are fed by Putin's trolls. Roger Waters, um, black generals who hated Martin Luther King's stand because they were fighting for the honor of the black man in Vietnam. And the Wind Singers, you know, would uh, know how to uh, haze little boys called horsey. So there's three over here now who matter. These three matter. Nothing else matters. They demand ancestors be satisfied. So they conjure from piles and piles of swastikas, which are sacred the honorary African symbols, for provincial norms at the Fernhollow Bridge gang of state of Pittsburgh. You know, because Pittsburgh is the 51st state, judging by their hubris. And they Joe Manchin at the Fernhollow Bridge, whoa, 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 and it's a powwow. And what is the meaning of all this smoke and mirrors? Flame over Africa. Aztec warriors, sun gods like Trumpy Tune, who say you liberal believe in a money pump. Back in the 80s, I said we should get water pipes, you know, and span Africa so that in an emergency, something like desalination or something could be, you know, make sure that there's sufficient water. Money pump, he called it. Oh, you liberals and your money pump. These three over here, the ancestral three, they would rather have the Aztec sun god, whoa, 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 and access to the New York Kremlin office where Spike Lee, and Howard Stern, Spike Lee and Howard Stern, and the Zappas, torture, ha 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 ha, torture, ha 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 ha. Obviously palling around behind the scenes. Shh, don't tell anyone. People like Noam Chomsky, don't tell. They'll never guess that Mick Jagger and Noam had a long comedy. So these three are the ones that matter now. They should be enshrined. Tear down Robert E. Lee and put up Sherman Old Alexie, Yoko Ono, and black general from Vietnam, from the Vietnam War for America. So that because the ancestors must have fulfillment of the American dream by tearing America limb from limb for, you know, whatever the St. Petersburg Putin trolls say would rectify against the imperialists. See, what UW dialectical didn't learn as little boys and little girls. And they should have gotten a gold star for learning it. They should have put on their thinking caps and tried to fathom. Is it just because they understand something doesn't make it true? Just because you understand that there is struggle between the world's cultures doesn't mean that all the struggles that exist between the world cultures constitute right and wrong. As clearly as the grabbing grudge hand of Seattle's Green Party, the grabbing grudge hand. Because when You see the grabbing grudge hand, you know that if you wash, it will be vanded. You might get poisoned in the mouth. And this is the genius of Columbia University. Genius! Pure, inescapable genius. So take off your thinking cap and put on your cloak of Spike All Day worship.